If this was anyone else, they'd be getting roasted on the daily, universally, but no. Something about Alanah is different. Her beauty and charm might explain why she escapes some of the scrutiny, but the evidence against her over the years is too significant to ignore. Pearce's actions demand accountability. I demand you respond to me in my many opinion pieces self-published on my own website. Why won't you respond? I'm gonna introduce you all to a character if you don't already know him. This interesting fella. He's got a channel. I could say that it is in fact a channel. This is Smash JT, one of the foremost culture warriors. He likes talking about how video games are destroyed for, you guessed it, woke reasons. There are a lot of things. He's also notable for having been completely fooled by someone online who said that they worked for Ubisoft and then sent him a really hot tip about how, yeah, in fact, the game is woke and it got delayed because it was woke, and the whole team is embarrassed and they don't want to work on it because Yatsuke was not a real historical figure, and that's why the game's been delayed, and that's the true story behind Assassin's Creed Shadows. He ended up reporting on it as if it was real. It was just a random person on the internet emailing him. And then the person came out and was like, hey, I made this up. I don't work for the company. I never did. This guy is a complete clown. But that didn't slow him down. He's still been making video after video on woke content. And lately he's been going after Alanah, talking about a whole bunch of different exposés that he's got on her. So she's got an official response because the hate has gotten so intense. But I do want to show you an article that Mr. JT Smash himself wrote on his own website. And this is called Alanah Pearce is a very attractive, pathological liar. Before we go too far, of course, it should go without saying, this is an opinion piece. An opinion that has been shaped over the course of years of watching Alanah's rise and the inevitable fall from grace in the game industry. The guy's married, apparently. That's the other part of the story that's super weird to me, is that, like, I don't know, does your wife know about all these articles and years of extensive research that you've been doing? Like, oh, can you come to bed? It's almost midnight. Oh, I gotta finish. Just 2,000 words left, and I gotta do more research on Alanah. And you don't understand. Everyone's been fooled. She's a siren. Her beauty, her swan song. We cannot resist it. But don't worry. I will make sure everyone else knows that she is in fact a liar. Alanah Pearce has long enjoyed an extremely favorable reputation throughout the entire gaming industry, but beneath her carefully curated public image lies a disturbing pattern of dishonesty that I just have to address. This is an opinion piece. If you didn't know, if it didn't give it away, that it's an opinion. This is someone's opinion. This has all gone on long enough. So here's a post by Alanah. I have been probably annoyingly vague about the details because when you work at a big company and you have to follow, and you have a following, sometimes people explicitly ask you to be, and I care much more about the people I worked with than I do about the internet's bad actors. Misrepresenting her role on God of War Ragnarok. One of the most glaring examples of Alanah Pearce's consistently dishonesty involves her self-proclaimed role in the development of a video game called God of War Ragnarok. What you're saying is disingenuous. You're a proven liar. You were hyping yourself up as a God of War Ragnarok, saying, oh, I'm a writer on this game. Guys, turns out you lied, and it was just a cookbook. Okay, genuine question. Obvious bad faith aside, could you let me know where I claim to be a writer on God of War Ragnarok, specifically, genuinely, in one screenshot? Pearce has often acted surprised to be called out for what she subtly implies, if not outright claims falsehoods. I'm aware it's fairly pointless to address this because if you fall for the BS, I think you've actively chosen to, but yes, I was a writer on a AAA game at Sony Santa Monica for 4 straight years. I created characters, developed main plot lines, wrote levels, etc. I worked with hundreds of people who can and do support this. Anyone who tells you I fabricated this for only worked on a cookbook is an idiot. This was a disingenuous move, at best, and a flat-out lie. At worst, she was listed in the credits only as an accessibility consultant, not a writer, but don't let facts get in the way of a good narrative, I suppose. Pearce's role at Santa Monica Studios was an accessibility consultant, a position explicitly defined by Sony's own document as focusing solely on making games easier to play for people with disabilities. How dare she? But nope, Pearce's statement goes way out of her way to blur the lines and make a kind of distinction, purposely misleading. It goes on like this for, as you might imagine, a while. And a while. As he keeps going, lots of receipts. Here's the receipts and the lies and more lies. Her past behaviors reveal a pattern. It's the first time Alanah's shown a lack of trustworthiness. Some of you may know and remember when she tried to shame a parent who game that have children, calling them a form of disability. I covered in a previous video. The bigger picture. Alanah Pearce's constant dishonesty and straight-up bold-faced lies highlight a systemic issue within the gaming industry. The ongoing shielding of influential figures in the gaming industry from accountability. If this was anyone else, they'd be getting roasted on the daily, universally, but no. Something about Alanah is different. And then he posted this as, I guess, what, evidence? Someone else's random thirst post? How did Alanah Pearce get jobs in gaming? 2 reasons. Her beauty and charm might explain why she escapes some of the scrutiny, but the evidence against her over the years is too significant to ignore. Don't be fooled, my comrades. Please, don't give in to temptation. Please. From art theft to false claims about her personal contributions and fabricated stories that undermine others, Pearce's actions demand accountability. I demand you respond to me in my many opinion pieces self-published on my own website. Why won't you respond? There's far more than I could dive into. That is sus as fuck. But I'll just leave you with this. These following examples. More things. Examples. The choice is ours, but the evidence is clear. Regardless of where you stand, Alanah Pearce's narratives is not one I trust. Not in the slightest. Well, thank you for your hard work in exposing Alanah. She has unfortunately had to issue a statement.
I don't often make videos even acknowledging the existence of this kind of thing for a number of reasons. First is that it is extremely futile. I've been on the internet for a long ass time and I often say things that are unpopular. I literally make effort to correct what I believe to be like very widespread, popular, but very false or at least very misleading narratives about the games industry as someone who has worked in various facets of it for the last 10 years. Making people mad at being divisive comes with the territory. I get that. And so people have spread rumors about me or made hate videos about me a million times, I'm sure. I do not watch any of these videos, literally not even one time. I don't look for them. It largely, unless something like really blows up, won't even make it to me. Like I won't even know that it's happening. And these people will move goalposts. The people who like start this shit will just move goalposts. So addressing them doesn't really do anything. Like it just becomes more and more and more time consuming. In this video, I'm going to provide a number of receipts to address things people have accused me of doing, and I already know, upon making it, like I'll get a bunch of don't feed the trolls comments, I already know that they will never walk back what they've said. They will either trip over themselves to deny everything I say, or they will find a new thing to get mad about. So it's futile. Again, I'm fully aware of that. But it has started to affect people that I'm friends with. And that's where I feel like I have to sort of draw a line. As in people that I personally know are receiving.
That really sucks that there's just like a lot of weirdos on the internet that like, you know, get so loud and demand so much attention and then finally gets to a breaking point where it's like, fine, that person's not paying attention to me. People around them pay attention to me. Your coworkers pay attention to me.
Leaving negative comments for being friends with me based on a bunch of shit that isn't true. Obviously, my friends know the actual truth, so I don't have to explain it to them. But I think it's a little different, like my whole, I don't give a shit, let them say whatever they want attitude kind of becomes a little selfish. The friends don't have a, hey, no, here's what actually happened. You should go watch this. This is all of the clarification of these things that you're being told. So yeah, it just, that's why I'm making this video today. But before I get to some of the bigger ones that I'm going to address here, and I'll leave time codes below for if you just want to jump to the topics. Can I just share some of my favorite dumbass internet rumors with you real quick? Because I think some of these are very funny. Cory Barlog gave her a token writing job to keep her work visa. That's not how visas work, and I never had one at Sony. They never had anything to do with my visa. She herself is a big lie using glass, even her eyes is good. I do have prescription glasses. It's not that bad though.
Wait, sorry. That one flew past me. I need to really get the essence of it. She herself is a big lie using glass. Even her eyes is good. Ah, okay, I get it now.
It's not that bad though. I'm minus 0.50. She's an Xbox ambassador, which means she gets up to 54k a year to push positive Xbox news? 54k a year? What? I'm certainly not getting any money from Xbox to do anything.
I don't even have an Xbox.
Again, just not true. Where do these people even get this shit from? The thing that always gets me is how many people believe them. This is just some fucking random on the internet, and you're like, oh yeah, no, that checks out. Does it though? To sum up her story, she tried to become a YouTuber, failed. She tried to impress 4chan with one of her videos to show she was a gamer, got roasted because her boyfriend was having to tell her how to play and review the game.
Who wants to impress 4chan? Just like the site. If there's one place on the internet where, you know, I could really care a little less than nothing about cloud farming, it's on 4chan. Oh, I'm so respected as an anonymous user on 4chan. I troll so hard.
Went on a hiatus, re-emerged as a journalist for IGN. All of this is wrong. This has several likes. I never tried to become a YouTuber and failed. I never tried to impress 4chan with a video and got roasted because of anything to do with the boyfriend. This never happened. My career started as a writer. I started as a freelance journalist. I was writing for magazines and websites. And then I later started a YouTube channel because I recognized that if I wanted to be in games media full time, I would need to get better at being on camera because a lot of the websites seem to have a lot more people on camera. So I wanted to make sure that I was as employable as possible. I went out and I got a skill. That's when my YouTube channel started. I was already a published video game journalist. And then I made videos. Definitely never tried to impress 4chan. Again, nothing to do with a boyfriend telling me how to play and review a game in any of my content ever. Did not go on any hiatus. I worked as a journalist and got a bunch of experience and then eventually got a job at IGN. There was no hiatus. I was available on the internet the whole time, writing. Good lord, this individual. She got fired from IGN for coming to work dressed like she just rolled out of bed, then cried wolf after she got fired that some employee asked her out and was stalking her. So many people were laughing at her in the IGN comments near the end that she looked like a hobo, then she became a low-effort Patreon e-beggar. There are also conspiracies that I've been fired from every single job. It's so funny. Like, they're just so convinced that I couldn't possibly be employed. I did not get fired from IGN. I did not get fired from Funhouse. I did not get fired from Santa Monica Studio. I left all of those jobs. I did, often, dress poorly at IGN. I still, often, dress quite poorly on the internet. I prioritize being comfortable. It's who I am. But no, definitely didn't fire me. In fact, they offered me an extra $30,000 when I quit, and I said no. I also never cried wolf that some employee asked me out and was stalking me. That never happened. That's not a thing I've ever done, not a thing that ever happened to me. Completely made up. I would not be surprised if people have laughed at me on the internet for looking like a hobo again. I know that I'm scruffy. People make fun of me for having short nails all the time. People make fun of me for sometimes my face is really shiny and it's because I'm just wearing sunscreen. But then in the same breath, they'll also say that like I'm using my looks for attention and I have my tits out for views all the time, despite the fact that I never have my fucking tits out on YouTube at all ever. Or that I wear a face full of makeup. Like, which is it? I agree with this guy. I do look like a hobo sometimes. Somebody at Sony smashed and gave her a job. And whoever that was probably told her to stop shilling. And she hit him with the, I'm gonna tell Sony about us. This is the only way.
Where do all these stories come from? Anyways, I want to get to the actual conspiracy, the god of war.
Let's address some of that. The first part is an accusation that I lied about being a writer on Sony Santa Monica Studios' God of War Ragnarok, even though my name is not listed as a writer in the credits of that game. For anyone who doesn't know, yes, I worked at Sony Santa Monica Studio from 2020 to recently. I quit a few months ago. We'll get into the details. It's for personal reasons. I wanted to be able to spend more time with my family. It was a wonderful place to work. I would go back in a heartbeat. Yeah, I was hired as a writer at Sony, and that was what I did while I was there. I was a writer. There are certain things I can't say due to my very specific contract, but here is what I will say. I never claimed anywhere to be a writer on God of War Ragnarok. I claimed to be a writer at Santa Monica Studio, but they are accusing me of specifically lying about being a writer on God of War Ragnarok. Again, a thing I never said. In fact, I have some clips, and there are a lot of these, by the way. I've just pulled a few. It will get boring if I played you all of them. I'm so proud of everybody who worked on that, and the pride that I feel and the excitement is not on behalf of myself. I want to say that, like, I didn't do shit. But I know so many people who, like, the amount of time it takes to make a wolf sled and how hard that is, and oh man, the excitement and the pride is for the people that I'm now friends with, who I understand how hard they worked to do this, being a part of the team. And, you know, obviously I work there, but it's more, like I said, proud of everybody else, and proud to work with such fantastic people who put something like that together. It's just, you're in for a ride. And I say that as someone who still largely feels like a bystander. I did very little work on this game. Yeah, there is
The other thing about this is like, this is such a weird thing to go after someone for with such certainty that you've got to, like, you can't just make videos on it. You got to write opinion pieces, something just to be able to have an extra statement out there that, like, she claims to have worked as a writer when she wasn't a writer on this specific game. This statement really makes it feel like she's saying she was a writer on the game when she wasn't a writer on the game. Also, I need to talk about how she's so beautiful and how it's definitely not letting people see the lies because they're too distracted by that. Because they're distracted by the beauty, they won't see the lies before they're... But you're not even right on your big accusation that you're going to hinge this whole thing on. That's why this is just so embarrassing to use as a gotcha.
Reception has been absolutely wonderful and so nice to watch, you know, more on behalf of the people I work with than on behalf of me, again, who I didn't do shit. So I always feel like I have to give the context. I didn't work on this game a ton. And my pride comes a lot more from, like, I'm a part of the studio. I saw this journey happen and I was in all the meetings and I watched this for the last 2 and a bit years, or no, almost 3 years. No, it is 2 years.
And they must have been well underway with it.
And then you got to go back and find any single live stream or interview you've done where you were openly like, oh yeah, by the way, I personally, you know, don't feel like I made the game, but I just feel proud of being part of the team, the studio that in fact did. And so I've got a whole bunch of those now.
When you joined, I would imagine.
Internet needs its evidence.
Basically, I routinely said I didn't do much on that game. I said I didn't do shit. And then I was really proud of the team, and then it was cool to watch all these people make this thing as a bystander, and then I was excited about it basically as a fan because it's something I didn't work on very much. That's what I've said over and over and over and over again, from before the game came out, months before the game came out, up until now. It's the only thing I've ever said. I understand that if you don't really watch my content, you haven't seen those clips, and obviously content creators who are trying to lie about telling you that I said I wrote on this game and not showing you these clips because it doesn't suit their story. But yeah, if you don't follow my content, I get why you would not have seen that. That's not your fault. But yes, said it frequently, and that's all I ever said. I do say that I was a writer at the studio, and that I worked on accessibility on God of War Ragnarok specifically, which I did. Now, the reason that people buy into this lie so eagerly, despite the fact that I've never claimed to be a writer on God of War Ragnarok, again, this is the internet. If I had ever said that, there would be receipts. There are none. Nobody has found one because none of them exist. Is because of some manipulatively edited screenshots. Anthony Birch, who was a writer on God of War Ragnarok, tweeted this on November 2022. When this tweet went out, I never would have thought it was about me. Why would I? Again, I never claimed to be a writer on that game and had only said before this tweet went out multiple times that I didn't do shit on this game. I actually still don't know if this is about me. I have no idea. I never worked with Anthony Birch. I joined the studio in 2020. The game came out in 2022. Anthony was already gone when I got there. He's basically a person I never met, never worked with, a total stranger to me. And I have avoided trying to shit on Anthony as well because I don't know what he meant. I don't want anyone to go get mad at him for, like, starting this shit fight when it may not have even been about me at all. That's not his fault. So obviously, again, people taking a tweet and thus blaming me for something is one thing, but here's where the actual manipulative editing comes in. Later in November, so like 20 days after Anthony's tweet, I won an award for Game Developer of the Year. It was a very advocacy-based award. It was basically about, like, a game developer who tried to do positive work around game development. As a response to this, some guy who has since deleted his tweets on the subject responded and said writers aren't game devs, so I wasn't a game dev, so I did not deserve the award. Hello everyone, future Alanah here, recording this on an iPhone because I really
that she was a writer, but she did some lore writing. Well, what it actually comes down to is I've seen her, I've interviewed her before, but I've seen her talk about specifically when it comes to God of War Ragnarok, about how she worked for the accessibility department and portion of that game. And accessibility, as she explains it, is not simply making games only available for people who might have, like, you know, limited physical functions or stuff like that. It can be things that you don't even think about, things like, you know, how will this affect certain groups? How will the content affect certain groups? Certain people have difficulty playing video games for a variety of reasons, including, you know, the amount of stimulation visually that comes from them that can trigger seizures and stuff like that. Like, just, again, she was never... she never lied about what she was doing for that game specifically and what part of the department she was working for. It's just one of those weird things on the internet where people have just taken one tweet she made where she said, I have worked as a writer for AAA game studio, and then assumed that meant that she literally said that she wrote for God of War Ragnarok. When again, it's just like, I don't know. I also, a lot of people are pointing out that, you know, this seems to be, once again, targeting a woman who happens to want to have some position in the video game industry, which is 100% true without question. There's a reason half of that guy's article was concentrating on her looks and how somehow her looks have sneakily allowed her to get away with all of these lies. But these aren't even like real lies, is the fucked up thing about the whole story.
Present tense after the game already came out and said, and yet it's what I do every day. This was several weeks after that game that I said I didn't do much work on came out. The tone of me saying, and yet it's what I do every day, is very specific. I can't elaborate on that due to my contract, but if you're smart, you can easily fill in the blanks about what I meant.
It's so weird. Games industry secrecy contracts can just be very unusual. And I will say I recognize that my terms are especially strict because I came into the studio with an unusually large following and I chose to stay as a contractor. The people trying to convince you that I was caught up in some lie for something I never actually said then edit that conversation on top of the tweet from Anthony. The intent there is to make it look like Anthony's tweet is a response to that conversation. They screenshot it so it looks like I was talking about Ragnarok the whole time, and then they put Anthony's tweet on the bottom so that it looks like he was responding to that conversation. Anthony's tweet came 2 weeks before. The two things are entirely unrelated. Again, they basically just read that somebody maybe did something and went, "It was her!" And so now I have to like back myself into a corner to be like, I didn't fucking say that. Like, I'm being blamed for something based on a vague tweet that says something without mentioning my name and addresses something I never did. Basically, yeah, this is how I got accused of lying about writing on a game that I never claimed to write on while I was actively employed at a studio. Like, did you think that I would lie about writing on something while I still worked there? Like, why would all of my colleagues could see what I'm saying? September 2022 was the first time I was ever even allowed to talk about.
Okay, so that one's pretty clear. What about the art theft? That's the last accusation, that she stole someone's art.
I've actually addressed a bunch of times. This happened 6 or 7 years ago, and I have not hidden it in any capacity. I've spoken about it many times. But yeah, I'm just going to give you the edit that my streams editor put together because it's more efficient. And I try not to downplay that because I did do something wrong, but what I did is not what they say I did. Basically, I used to just redraw stuff all the time. Like, I was just redrawing. I would take official art and I would redraw it. You know, this is a redraw. The person signed it themselves. They did not credit the original artist. Really common thing to do. Really, really, really common. I was doing it all the time. I had videos at the time of me doing it. It's not even uncommon for people to not address that something is a redraw. Because like, if you're doing it off a screenshot, well, people know, you know what I mean? So very common thing to do. What I did wrong was unknowingly redraw someone else's fan art. I assumed it was official. I have the exact screenshot of the website that I took it from, which I don't know why it was called this. I basically just Googled Sekiro. This is the exact thing that I redrew. I didn't realize it was fan art. It's very good, to be fair, but it also looks like the official art. I assumed it was official. That's all it was. I don't know what language that is, but nothing on the page, you know, there was no signature. It was different language at the bottom there. There are tweets, comments publicly from before anyone got mad at me. It says, oh, it's more than I'm sharing that it's not an original design, which does make things a lot faster. I just copied an image, which makes proportions easier. The tweet where I said it was copied came 4 hours before the tweet where someone got mad. Like I said, I was doing it all the time. I assumed everyone knew that I was doing it. I was publicly open about it, but I redrew somebody else's art unknowingly. But yeah, as soon as someone was like, hey, wait, took it down and apologized. And people take the takedown as me like trying to hide it because I got caught, which what I actually did was realize I had made a mistake. It wasn't like I did something and got caught and was like, oh no, everyone's gonna find out. Like, I realized.
Oh, sorry, Veronica. I just had my alerts turned off in preparation for the Leftist Mafia because it's starting soon. But thank you so much for the donos. I have a great idea for a way to get money back to Palestine. It's aimed at anti-Zionist Jews whose Judaism is important to them, and I think you might like it. Is there an email where I can give you more details? In a nutshell, I found a way to leave Israel, and before I leave, I want to do something big for Palestine. I hope to hear from you. You can email serfspodcast@gmail.com. Would be, or go to weareserfs.com, and there's a portal there to fill in emails and then send them, and it'll go to the same place.
I had done something wrong, you know? But yeah, publicly apologized at the time, 7 years ago, I think 6 or 7 years ago. And they now present it. Again, I did do something wrong. That's why I don't like dismissing this.
Why do people care? Well, I'll be honest with you, as someone who has covered internet controversies for a long time, or even, you know, internet drama or stuff like that, it's pretty obscene where the bar is for getting, I guess, effectively called, you know, a grifter or trying to be canceled by the anti-woke right, whatever their equivalent of it is, because it's just the exact same thing, right? They're trying to cancel her and present it as, here's the two huge, big lies that no one is willing to address address. And then it's like, she's addressing both of them. And in the scheme of things, they're pretty absurd. It's like, so you did work for Santa Monica Studios. I did, yes. But you said you were a writer on God of War. I never did that, no. But I did work on God of War Ragnarok specifically as an accessibility consultant, and I have worked as a writer for the company on other projects that I'm not allowed to talk about because of NDAs. That's it. And then the second one is, but you also stole someone's art. And it's like, I did a redrawing of a drawing that I originally thought was a commercial drawing. It turned out that the drawing was a fan art. And so afterwards, I credited the fan art that I originally copied and traced that I used for my own art. And you have it. That's apparently what, according to JT Smash, her beauty is distracting people from learning the truth.
I'm also super open about it. I did do something wrong. I should have looked up. But they present it as though I literally downloaded it and posted it like someone else's art, even though when you look at a side-by-side, you can see that I have redrawn it. It's so clear it's a redraw. Again, and I was doing it all the time. Like, I wasn't trying to get a job as an artist. I wasn't selling it. It was just a thing I did for fun. At the time, I was doing it really, really regularly, to the extent that, like, I assumed everyone in my audience, in fact, everyone in my audience did know I was redrawing. Sharing videos of me redrawing. It's just like when it takes on a voice of its own outside of your community is when things blow up. If I was selling it or claiming it was my original art, that'd be a problem. Totally, yeah, I agree. If I was trying to sell it, though, I mean, I did do commissions, but they were all video game screenshots. So like I did like years ago do commissions where I would redraw a video game screenshot, but that feels a little different because I was taking something from 3D to 2D. You know, like I redrew something from BioShock, I redrew a Master Chief one time, but it's still the same kind of principle. And I did sell those because the person sent me the screenshot for me to copy, you know what I mean? The third one is just really boring, I think. My first stream after the Game Awards, I sat down and like spoke about the stuff that happened at the Game Awards and how I felt about everything. And I said that I saw one of the devs from Black Myth Wukong crying, but I could see all of the nominees and awards winners, and the Black Myth Wukong team, I don't know which person on the team, was crying when Astrobot got Game of the Year. Because you could see him just looking down the line, which is the first time I've ever seen anything like that, because generally everyone is like, Game Awards doesn't matter that much. Be sad if they don't win. If you're not talking about the winner, it's natural to be sad. Yeah, I'm not criticizing them for being sad. It was just surprising, because I've never seen that before. Like, people are generally like, oh, bummer, they don't care that much. But again, it is a really impressive feat for a Chinese game to end up their first time ever is pretty crazy. I was not the first person to say this. I was not the only person to say this. I was just the only person who got clipped. It actually went viral without me even knowing. On that same stream, I talk about how it was going to be my last stream before I stopped going on social media for a while because my mum was in town. I didn't try to push it as some kind of big narrative. I didn't tweet it. I wasn't the one that clipped myself. Other people did that. It was actually a fairly small stream too. I didn't have even as many concurrents as normal. But yeah, some other people came out and said that they did not see this. It is ultimately a he said, she said. People have decided that I was definitely lying about this because of a couple of seconds of footage that were from an entirely different part of the speech. So in editing this video, because I had to YouTube search to be able to even find that footage, it turns out that from all the search results, everybody is saying that I claimed that the CEO was crying, and they often show pictures of the face of the CEO of Game Science. I don't know which person on the team, but yeah, they say you've been 100% proved to be lying about this, based on a tiny bit of footage from a much longer speech. First, I could be completely wrong. I just said a thing that I saw. I was fairly far away. It really did look like somebody crying to me. It's possible I was wrong. Now, I will say I shouldn't have said what I said. I regret saying it, not because the internet mob is calling me a liar for it. I didn't lie. But because devs should be allowed to do this and I should not have broadcast it. I think it was unprofessional of me. They should be allowed to have these feelings and not have someone talk about it on the internet. I think that
But again, like, how dare you? Like, I don't know. Based on the shit that I see people doing every day on the internet, to think that it's like, well, you need to address this. You got to address the allegations, because, I mean, come on. You can't just sit in silence. You know, what you did is unforgivable, and your fans, if no one else, deserve to know the truth. And it's like, I said that at an award show. I saw someone get emotional for winning an award. I guess, yeah, I'll apologize for that. That, you know, they should be allowed to have their emotions. That's true. I shouldn't be pointing that out and talking about it, so.
I would apologize to the team for doing that at all. I should not have done that. I will note one thing here, like I was comforted when the day after this happened, the team came out and said how disappointed they were that they didn't win.
This is a breath of fresh air controversy. I know. It's so much better than half the shit I have to cover. I was talking about Tectone yesterday. Like, yikes. Holy fuck. That was such a fucking gross human being, and that was such a disgusting ass controversy. And yeah, once again, there's a case of someone who's not taking any accountability for his actions or for his family's actions or trying to cover up his family's actions or any of that kind of shit. Just literally just sitting there doing another stream and being like, this is fucking, it's so bad, man. Hassan basically has made it impossible for me to actually interact with my own father. He's destroying my life. I can't believe he would do this to me. Are you fucking serious? I mean, yeah, the whole world now does know how horrifying your father or the bills that were introduced to try and protect future victims from people like him were. But, you know, I think that's kind of on you for either discounting them or just lying flat out about them for years.
Game of the year that they felt like they wasted the trip. But still, I do regret saying it. Ultimately, yeah, the studio was unusually sad that they didn't win Game of the Year. Being emotional, that's something that you worked hard on, didn't.
This one is like, I saw someone at an award show be emotional, and then afterwards it's like, how dare you say that? And it's like, oh, okay, you're right. I'm going to have to apologize publicly and address the allegations that I, in fact, did say that, and I apologize for it, and there we have it.
Get credit from your peers is totally reasonable. Regardless, yes, possibly I was wrong. I wasn't lying. And here's the part about this that I really want to highlight. Why the fuck would anyone lie about this? Literally, what would I ever have to gain from saying this if I didn't actually see it? People have tried to justify this by pretending that I ran a hate campaign against Black Myth Wukong, like I tried to get the game cancelled. I was one of the journalists calling it sexist. This isn't true. I want to play this so bad. Cool as hell, man. Damn. God, I'm so excited to just play this game. Actually touch this game. God, it looks so good. There's a chance this ends up being Game of the Year, right? I was extremely supportive of this game. I also defended the studio against accusations of sexism. Okay, so this one is a stupid joke. That's how I feel about it, right? This is just a dumb joke. Several posts have surfaced from Chinese social media site contain multiple references to genitalia and sexual innuendos, which, if you are part of my community and have been here for a while, I do that shit all the time. Okay, so this is potentially another mistranslation. I personally will still be playing the video game and I'm looking forward to it. And why would I have done either of these things, like praise this game a hell of a lot and defend them, if I was actually secretly on some weird hate campaign against it? And then all this hate campaign that didn't exist culminated in me saying I saw someone cry. Like, if you were actually trying to start something, again, I had no idea this was going to get clipped and go viral. I had no clue that it even happened.
All right, well, I guess, yeah, the controversies have been addressed. I assume that means that everyone who has been super normal up to this point about this issue will continue to be even more normal and won't feel the need to make 25 or more videos each to address the lies within the lies and how the lies only expose even deeper lies, and then have to write companion pieces on their own websites to be able to make sure everyone is very aware of how horny they are. Like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I mean, one thing that I could say that everyone should do is go subscribe to Alanah. Here's the link to her channel. She normally does not talk about this kind of stuff and just talks about a lot of insider information about video game development, the companies behind them. Has a lot of great things to say about the exploitation of labor that takes place in a lot of these gaming companies, stuff like that. I highly recommend the channel and her work in amongst all this weird shit.
Don't let this happen to you. Go to serfscoffee.com to order the only end-to-end owned indigenous coffee company that delivers blood-free, conflict-free, and cruelty-free beans right to your door. 0% of people who drink serfscoffee.com have exploded spontaneously. By ordering right now, you get 10% off plus free shipping, and it's the best way to enjoy delicious coffee while not exploding. That's serfscoffee.com, serfscoffee.com.
Hey, if you'd like to unlock secret bonus episodes as well as uncensored content, go to patreon.com/theserfs. This show is produced by Anna Loves Riley, Arian McCarthy, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hagbard Celine, Jimmy Sombrero, Voltimondi, Omni, Political Poppy, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demel, Travis McClinton, Trincell, Words Greenwood, with additional support coming from all of these amazing human beings right here.